welcome along to this month's Poetry, Tea and Chat with my name is Jess Phillips and I'm one of the librarians here at Wiltshire Libraries, and I've got some lovely poems that I'm going to share with you this afternoon, and I thought I'd share with you a couple of the things that I'm reading and hoping to read over the next couple of weeks. Firstly, a bit of non-fiction. I don't know whether you like non-fiction or not, but I am thoroughly enjoying the Alan Rickman diaries. I'm about a quarter of the way through at the moment. It's called Madly Deeply, and it basically covers his diaries from the early 90s until about 2015. And I will just show you some of the illustrations from his diaries. I don't know if you can see that, but isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. He's got wonderful handwriting. He's so good at capturing all sorts of bits and pieces. Here's a few other bits of illustrations, whether you can see those or not. And he's got a fantastic sense of humour. He knows so many famous people. I would have loved to have been even sort of close to one of his tables when he was out for dinner. He always seemed to be out for dinner or out for lunch, and I mean that in the loveliest way. So I would thoroughly recommend that if you're a fan of Alan Rickman. On my to read pile, that if you can see just behind me, I've got Mike Gale's a new book ready to read as soon as I finish Alan Rickman, and that is called A Song of Me and You. And I've also got the new Jodie Taylor, which is called The Good, the Bad and the History. These are a crazy series of books all about a bunch of mischievous, I should say, historians from an organisation called St Mary's, and they are historians that actually time travel to do their history and find out first-hand history. And this is the latest instalment of that, so I can't wait for that. But Alan Rickman to read first, so I hope you're reading some exciting things. Just pop those back on my shelf there. So this Poetry, Tea and Chat, we've got inadvertently a whole plethora of Williams to enjoy this afternoon. The first one is a gentleman called William Aldous, which wasn't a poem or a poet I knew particularly. He was the illegitimate son of the Chancellor of Lincoln. I bet you didn't know that fact about him. He collected rare books and manuscripts and sold his entire collection to the Earl of Oxford, who made him his librarian. So William Aldous and I have something in common. We're both library folk. His poem, or the poem I'm going to read to you today, is called On a Fly Drinking Out of His Cup. Talking of cups, I hope you have got something to drink this afternoon. I do have a lovely hot cup of tea, and I'm just checking it for flies. No flies in it. Cheers. So I've had some tea. There's no fly in my cup, but I'm now going to share with you a poem called On a Fly Drinking Out of His Cup. Busy, curious, thirsty fly, drink with me, and drink as I, freely welcome to my cup. Couldst thou sip and sip it up, make the most of life you may, life is short and wears away. Both alike are mine and thine, hastening quick to their decline. Thine's a summer, mine's no more, though repeated to 60. 60 summers, when they're gone, will appear as short as one. So that was William Aldous and On a Fly Drinking Out of His Cup. The next William I'm going to read a poem from is William Blake, and now this poem had no name. Blake gave this poem no name at all. In his prose, An Introduction to Milton, it concludes with this particular poem, and so it's been sort of given the title before it became a little bit more famous, From Milton. It's now best known as a hymn. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to sing, but I do challenge you not to hum along as I read the next poem. There was a popular belief in 18th century England that Joseph of Arimathea brought the baby Jesus to Britain, thus the first verse, and the dark satanic mills refer first and foremost to Oxford and Cambridge and the rigidity of classics and mathematics. So I I do think you've probably guessed what this next next poem is going to be. It is, of course, going to be Jerusalem. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green? And was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? And did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills? And was Jerusalem builded here among those dark satanic mills? Bring me my bow of burning gold, bring me my arrows of desire. Bring me my spear, O clouds unfold, bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. He wrote of this particular poem, this was his magnum opus. I praise it since I dare not pretend to be anything other than secretary. The authors are in eternity. I consider it the grandest poem that the world contains. I don't know whether you agree with him or not, but that was William Blake and From Milton, aka Jerusalem. Time for a slight sip more tea. I'm still checking for flies. All good. Now, my next poem is from the great William Shakespeare, the third William of the session so far, and this is from Much Ado About Nothing. Now, in Shakespeare's time, pronunciation of the word nothing is thought to have been more like noting. So there are all sorts of puns, if you think about it, on notes and noting in this particular play. Deception and disguise are major themes, as you will know. This I also know actually as a song, so I am desperately trying not to sing to you this afternoon, but I do know this tune quite well. I sing in one of the local singing groups, and we do sing this this particular version. So this is William Shakespeare and From Much Ado About Nothing. Sigh no more, ladies, sigh no more. Men were deceivers ever. One foot in sea and one on shore, to one thing constant, never. Then sigh not so, but let them go, and be you blithe and bonny, converting all your sounds of woe into hey nonny nonny. Sing no more ditties, sing no more of dumps so dull and heavy. The fraud of men was ever so, since summer first was levy. Then sigh not so, but let them go, and be you blithe and bonny, converting all your sounds of woe into hey nonny nonny. So from Act 2, Scene 3, from Much Ado About Nothing, that was the wonderful William Shakespeare, of course. We're going to move away from Williams now, be brave, and we're going to go to a lovely poem now by Gerald Manley Hopkins. Now, when I was at university eons ago, we had a very nasty exam, poetry exam, where we had to, I might have spoken about it before, where we were given 4 poems, and we had to identify which poet was which and say why this particular poem was redolent of the poet's style and language use, etc., etc. Thankfully, this was one I managed to get right. So this is Gerald Manley Hopkins, and this is his very famous poem, The Windhover. He composed this particular sonnet in the May of 1877. In June, he wrote to Robert Bridges saying this poem was the best thing he ever wrote. See if you agree with him. I caught this morning's minion's kingdom of daylight dolphin, dapple dawn, drawn falcon, in his riding of the rolling level underneath him, steady air, and striding high there. How he rung upon the rein of wimpling wing, in his ecstasy, then off forth on swing. As a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, and hurling and gliding, rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valour and act, oh air, pride, plume, here buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee a billion times told lovelier and more dangerous. O my chevalier, no wonder of it, sheer plod makes plough down Sicilian, shine and blue bleak embers, ah my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion. Gerald Manley Hopkins and the Windhover, of course, is a kestrel, and he captures that beautifully, that sort of habit of hovering or hanging with its head into the wind. We have a few kestrels that do hang around, but I must admit, where I am at home here, we tend to have a red kite that seems to scare everything else off at the moment. So my next and final poem is going to be not a William again, I'm afraid, but we're off to Alfred Lord Tennyson, and his poem is From a Princess. Tennyson was very fond of declaiming his poetry to a receptive audience. Montague Eliot told how Tennyson used to visit the family home down in Cornwall, and he reckoned it put him off poetry for life. He and the younger children would be sat in the front row of Tennyson's recitals, and they would dread the occurrence of words that began with P or B, because the children were regaled with a shower of spittle. So be thankful that I'm online and not live. I'm trying not to spray the camera with spittle, and there are a few P's and B's in the next poem, but I hope that image of Tennyson reciting poetry will at least make you smile. So this is from The Princess. Now sleeps the crimson petal, now the white, nor waves the cypress in the palace walk, nor winks the gold fin in the porphyry font. The firefly wakens. Waken thou with me? Now droops the milk-white peacock like a ghost, and like a ghost she glimmers on to me. Now lies the earth all denied to the stars, and all thy heart opens unto me. Now slides the silent meteor on, and leaves a shining furrow as thy thoughts in me. Now folds the lily all her sweetness up, and slips into the bosom of the lake. So fold thyself, my dearest, thou, and slip into my bosom, and be lost in me. Alfred Lord Tennyson, promise I didn't spit, and From the Princess. So that concludes the poetry for today. Hopefully I have inspired you with a few things that you might want to read in the coming months, and maybe encourage you to pick up a poem or two. The next Poetry Tea and Chat next month will be with Philip from the Salisbury Library Facebook page. I hope you're keeping well, and I hope you stay well in the coming weeks, and I hope to see you again soon. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.